من كل الذين ينضموا للاستماع إلى راديو بلدي أول راديو عربي أمريكي ويعنى بقضايا العرب في المهجر. برامجنا في راديو بلدي كل يوم جمعة من 8 وحتى 9 صباحا ببث حي ومباشر عبر WNBK راديو 690 AM. صباح الخير بلدي، صباح الخير لكل مستمعينا.
Welcome to Radio Baladi, the first Arab, Middle Eastern, and American simulcast radio show. Radio Baladi is broadcast every Friday morning on WNZK 690 AM from 8 until 9 Eastern Time on Good Morning Michigan. Our call-in number 248-557-3300. And now, stay tuned for the best radio talk show on Arab and American issues.
Okay, everybody, this is Ray Hanania. It's Radio Bellady, Friday, February 9, 2024, here at WNZK AM 690 Radio. We're also broadcasting live on Facebook at US Arab Radio if you want to watch us there. This show will be rebroadcast in its entirety on Facebook, and we'll share it on a bunch of pages, but you can find it at US Arab Radio on Facebook. If you're not in the greater Detroit region, listening on WNZK AM 690. I host this program on the second Friday every month, and occasionally I'll sit in on other Fridays each month. So this is our special program. Later in the spring, I'll restart the Ray Hanania radio show with the Arab News, which will be every week during the middle of the week. So we'll have an announcement about that later as the weather gets better, although I don't know how the weather is by you. It's like 60 degrees in Chicago where I'm at. We have two great guests today. First, we're going to speak with Shad Mohammed. He is a community activist and resident of Orland Park, a suburb of Chicago, where the village mayor, in a xenophobic, outburst, told Arabs and Muslims who asked the village board to consider a ceasefire resolution. He told them that if they didn't like America, they can go, quote, go to another country. And then he went on about, he's not German American, hyphenated American, referencing the fact that we're Arab American and Muslim American. And he really kind of berated us. And then when a few people moaned and said that's not fair, he shut the meeting down. He kicked everybody out. There are 75 Arabs and Muslims in Orland Park, and Orland Park has a huge Arab and Muslim population, and one of the biggest mosques in the Chicagoland area, the Orland Prayer Center. And he kicked them all out. He waited about 30 minutes, then he reconvened, and then he gave this diatribe and propaganda statement without any audience so that he wouldn't be interrupted. So Shad is going to introduce him in a minute. He's going to help us tell us what happened at that meeting because he was there. Then at 8:30 at the bottom of the hour, we speak with Imad Hamad, who is president of the American Human Rights Council, on efforts by President Biden, who is desperate to recover support from the Arab and Muslim community in Michigan. Biden and U.S. Secretary of State Anthony Blinken abandoned Arabs and Muslims when they gave Israel the green light, billions in funding and arms to bomb and kill Palestinians in the Gaza Strip after Hamas killed 1,200 Israelis on October 7th. Biden allowed Israel to target all Arabs and Muslims, not just the accused terrorists, and to destroy all of their homes, their mosques, their libraries, their schools, their businesses, just everything, and killing more than 30,000 Palestinians, including 40% who are children who have been killed in that 4-month-long massacre. We're broadcasting live at WNZK AM 690. And again, you can go to facebook.com/US Arab Radio to watch this. We're going to take a quick break. And then when I do, I'm going to introduce you to my friend and guest, Shad Mohammed, who was at that meeting in suburban Chicago in Orland Park. I'm Ray Hanania. We're going to take a break. We'll be right back right after these messages.
ArabNews.com, bringing you breaking news from across the Middle East and the latest on Arabs in America. Get inside the latest headlines with expert analysis and insights at ArabNews.com. Join over 5 million Facebook fans and over 10 million monthly readers. ArabNews.com, news that matters to you.
As the weather gets colder, it's a good idea to layer up with scarves, hats, and mittens. Another layer of protection this season is to get your flu and COVID-19 vaccines. You can get both vaccines at the same time. Talk to your healthcare provider or learn more at michigan.gov/COVID flu RSV and layer up for some added peace of mind. A message from the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services.
Ziyad brand. Quality products from our family to yours. Ziyad Brothers Importing offers the finest quality products, including brands like Sultan, Kraft, Nestle, Hook, Rico Picon, Donna, and many more. Ask your retailer to carry these fine products because you deserve the very best. For more information, visit our website at www.ziyad.com. That's www.ziyad.com. Ziyad, quality products from our family to yours.
At Top Rehab Physical Therapy Clinic in Dearborn, we provide effective physical therapy sessions in order to limit pain and discomfort. Top Rehab provides physical therapy care for any diagnosis prescribed by a physician, and we regularly see and treat conditions such as stroke, TMJ, fibromyalgia, sciatica, joint pain, and more. We use a variety of pain management methods, including modalities, soft tissue mobilization, and therapeutic exercise. If you're in need of physical rehabilitation or physical therapy, get the highest quality health care at Top Rehab. Most insurance is accepted, and we're open Monday, Wednesday, and Friday 8 to 6, Tuesday and Thursday 8 to 5, and Saturday 10 till 2. Call for an appointment today at 313-846-0555. That's 313-846-0555. Choose Top Rehab Physical Therapy Clinic on Michigan Avenue in Dearborn. Life's too short to be in pain.
And welcome back to Radio Bellady. This is Ray Hanania here at WNZK AM 690. I want to welcome my first guest, a great guy, Shad Mohammed. Shad is a Arab American activist, but he's just a normal guy. He's not one of these crazy people that's out there. He went to a board meeting because he lives in Orland Park, which is a suburb of Chicago. He went to this meeting where 75 Arabs and Muslims who live in Orland Park wanted to ask their village board, would you please consider a ceasefire resolution? You know, the mayor could have said, no, I'm sorry, I disagree. But instead, he got very confrontational, aggressive, and mean. Shad, welcome to the radio show, and thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me, Ray. Happy Friday, or how we say it here on the South Side in Little Palestine, Jummah Mubarak.
Yes.
Have a blessed Friday.
And, and that's a good point to remind people that this area has the largest concentration of Palestinians in one area over any other place in the country. You don't find as many Palestinians as you do in the Chicago area, in the southwest suburbs. Of course, government has done everything they can to divide our congressional districts and to silence us. But you guys weren't silenced. Tell us about this meeting, which was last Monday. What happened? Just go through the rundown. What happened?
Okay, I'll give you the rundown, as you say. We had 5 longtime Orland Park residents who were given 3 minutes each to speak at the village board meeting last Monday. They were healthcare workers, educators, businessmen, and a doctor. Each one of them got up and spoke professionally, passionately, and respectfully. They spoke about their lifelong ties to their community in Orland Park, their contributions to the community in Orland Park, and all they asked for in their own little humble way is that the village adopt a resolution for a ceasefire in Gaza, knowing that it was more symbolic than anything. It was just to show some empathy for the community, their constituents. It's a huge Arab population in Orland Park, as you said. We just felt like we weren't heard. Chicago had just recently passed a ceasefire resolution, which was hard fought. And other cities across the nation were doing that. And we just felt that since we had the largest Palestinian community in the Midwest, and actually Cook County, and Orland Park as well, that we wanted to have also a symbolic ceasefire resolution. So as I said, these 5 speakers came up in front of the board and spoke eloquently. Knowing, like I said, more than anything, that it was basically a symbolic request.
So there were There were about 75 people in the audience.
There was about 75
from this
people.
group from
Yes.
Arab and Muslims. And
Correct.
I remember I heard someone tell me that there was a heavy presence of police there. Normally, they only have one police officer because I've been to the board. But when you see like 5 or whatever it was, that suggests that before the meeting even started, there's this attitude of confrontation on the village's part.
It was.
They were expecting or were anticipating some type of fight. Correct? Did you have that feeling when you were there that like, why is this security so high? We're just residents. You're a taxpayer, right?
Exactly. My wife and I went. My brother went. Other relatives went, and when we walked in, it was a little intimidating seeing all this police presence. I counted 10 policemen.
Wow.
In the room.
10 is a lot.
Yeah, 10 is a lot. I'm not sure how many we actually have in Orland Park, but 10 is a lot. And and here they were at this board meeting. Some in uniform and some not.
Right.
So yeah, there was, and it was like as you said, there was about 75 of us. So it was standing room only. The village hall meeting room is not that huge.
Right.
So there were some chairs, and then also people lined up in the back as well.
So these 5 speakers get up and they make their 3-minute presentations.
3 minutes each, right?
Did you guys riot and start throwing chairs and stuff after
no,
during the speech? But there were some
not
people,
at all.
Everything seemed calm, right? When they were presenting, even the speakers were calm.
Oh yes, the speakers, like I said, they all spoke passionately. It all culminated with one of the speakers presenting the board basically a signed petition of support from like over 800 residents,
right,
asking that they adopt the ceasefire resolution,
right.
And then it kind of ended with one of the speakers asking the board if they wanted to stand on the side of compassion for human life and justice,
right,
or the side that doesn't care and doesn't do anything.
Right.
And I should also add here that during this time, while all the 5 speakers were pouring their hearts out to the mayor and the board, the mayor never once looked up at the speakers. His head was buried down on the desk, constantly scribbling something and like shuffling papers around. And he would only raise his head to drink water, or I think it was Coke Zero. It was a clear sign of utter rudeness. It really seemed, from my standpoint, it seemed very intentional that he was acting that way. Ignoring all the speakers. And it's funny because all the other board members were listening, and I was just looking at them, and they were closely paying attention to the speakers. They were very respectful, looking directly at them while they were speaking, in complete opposite of what the mayor was doing.
Right.
So you knew he had an agenda, before we even got there.
He was ready for war. Keith Pekau, as you know, is probably the most right-wing. He's not just a Republican or conservative, because, Arabs and Muslims, we are conservative. Now, we may not identify as Republican all the time, but we are conservative. We believe in family values. We believe in prayer in schools and in, open, and we support prayers. We support religious schools. We don't embrace the gay lifestyle or the transgender lifestyle, but we don't attack it or criticize it. It's not us. That's not what we do. We don't encourage it. So these are conservative issues, but he's so far to the right. He's had very combative attitudes toward people. And I just remind our listeners, we're talking with Shad Mohammed. He's a resident of Orland Park, which is a suburb of Chicago, where they tried to introduce, and they asked the village to pass a ceasefire resolution. And we're going to talk about what they got instead. But you can watch that video by looking up the Village of Orland Park for that meeting on Monday. And you can see how I heard him sigh, like, you'd hear like he was just bothered by the fact that
Cut off, yeah.
taxpayers in his village, like those 5 speakers, were wasting his time. And you're right. When you watch the video, he's like, doesn't even look at you, doesn't show any respect. So now you've done this, and then he starts speaking, right? He
Yeah.
says, now it's my turn.
Yeah. So then after everyone spoke, there was a rounding applause for all the speakers, basically. And then the mayor started off, the board comments.
Right.
And that's when everything went south.
Right.
It
was very confrontational, like berating you, and attacking you.
He gave us this nauseating Wikipedia history of the region.
I think it was an AIPAC history that
It
they
might have
probably
been
gave
their
him
playbook,
from the
yeah.
Israeli lobby. He just
Yeah,
read it, and it was factually incorrect, but he just kept going, right?
Yeah, he started from the Bronze Age all the way to the current conflict.
Right.
He then, he then kind of rattled off all the states in the world that recognize Israel and all the ones that do not.
Right.
And then he started saying how there were 6 or 7 attempts to resolve the conflict over the years, but
right.
All of those attempts were turned down by the Palestinians.
Right, which is not true, but
yeah,
that's what he said.
And I should say he forgot to mention, or maybe purposely left out, that it was an Israeli terrorist named Yigal Amir, I believe,
who was one of Netanyahu's disciples, right?
Assassinated their own prime minister to stop the peace process.
Right, yeah, and stop the peace process. So he starts rambling this anti-Arab speech. You come there, the community comes there and say, hey, would you do this? Now, in a normal community, a mayor might say, listen, thank you so much, you taxpayers and citizens of my community. I may not agree with you, but I appreciate you taking the time to come down here. We will give it some thoughtful consideration. We'll get back to it. We may not do it. We may do it. There was a nice way to address it, but right away he got in there like he was in attack mode, and he was going to go after your jugular with all these ridiculous claims. And then what happens? Some of the people in the audience start moaning and, saying, hey, that's not fair. And
at that point, everyone kind of grew impatient, I would say, with his rambling, his his winded long speech. And
he was talking for about 10 minutes.
Yeah, he was more than the 3 minutes, obviously, that he had given the speakers. And he started telling, we started saying, we didn't come here for a history lesson.
Right.
And then he strikes down his gavel telling us to be quiet and not interrupt, or he'll clear the room.
3 times, like you were a child.
Well,
he hit the
that
gavel.
didn't go well, so he gave another warning. And on the 3rd interruption, he made a motion to the board to recess the meeting, and
kick everybody out.
Yeah, every one of the board members said aye, and he asked the police chief to clear the room, and we were all ushered out.
And then he waited 30 minutes when nobody was there, and then he continued this pre-written diatribe that he wrote attacking Arabs and Muslims and this one-sided history, because when you go back, you see that there's a 30-minute pause on the video, and then he starts up again, blaming the Arabs, accusing you of stuff, accusing the community. And that's when he started making the comments when nobody was there. It's very cowardly when someone's not in front of you that you say, go to another country, or that I'm not German American, I'm American. Like, we're not American. I served during the Vietnam War. My dad and my uncle served during World War II to fight the Nazis and save the Jews and end the Holocaust. And I think even some of your family members and family members of many of the speakers.
Yeah, he served in the army, tail end of World War II, during the occupation of Germany. Was drafted and was there for 2 years. So yeah, I mean, we have service in our family as well as you, and I'm sure a lot more Arab Americans, in our area, in our town, in our country.
This is a matter of disrespect from a guy who is disrespectful. I mean, that's his nature. He's hateful. He's hate driven. I'll tell you, I watched the program, and again, I encourage listeners, you look for Village of Orland Park on YouTube and look for that meeting, which was on Monday, which I think was, what was that, February 4? Was it, I think? I can't remember. Whatever Monday was of this week, this past Monday. And you watch it, how respectful Yusuf Ziger, who was the first one up there to speak, was so respectful. He read his statement. He didn't attack anybody. He didn't confront the board. And then they were followed by 4 other speakers. The only thing I always suggest to the Arabs is they need to learn PR and communications. They should have had a press release that identified all the speakers. You know what I mean? Present their case. Here's what we're asking for. You got to do that in today's media.
We're getting there, Ray. We're getting there.
No, I know.
We're getting there.
I know, I get that, but it's, the media is so much smaller and more over influenced by corporations. The corporations control the media and they exclude things they don't like, and we're part of that group that they don't like. So it just turned into this very ugly system. It wasn't about the ceasefire, though. It's about respect, isn't it? He should have showed you respect. He didn't do that.
Yeah, I personally felt offended by the mayor's response to our request. I felt, his condescending history of the region speech was, clearly intentional. It was an insult to everyone in the room. And, I think clearly a calculated move to probably garner a response from the crowd, which it did.
He wanted to provoke a response, right?
He did. He did. Yeah. And as I said, we didn't need a history lesson on our region, the Middle East, from anyone, let alone a German American. I don't know if by, clearing the room, if that was, the right thing to do, or if there was any village laws violated or anything. But I mean, he basically got that. That's what he wanted. So we'd have, an open or a closed forum so that he
could say whatever he wants.
Exactly.
Because the video is on the Village Board website, paid for by taxpayers, you and me, because I live in Orland Park also. And he just wants to dominate everything. He's intolerant. He doesn't tolerate other people's views. Like I said, he could have said, "Thank you. I'll take the petition." 800 of his residents, and that would be 800 families. There were people there's a big Arab community in Orland Park, and they're enraged about what he did. It wasn't even about the rejection of the ceasefire. It was his attitude and the fact that he obviously was prepared to hammer a nail into the community, because that speech was crafted prior to the meeting.
Yeah,
he heard the Arabs were going to come there, and he took it as an assault. Like, we have no right to go to the board meeting and speak. I give all the people that attended a lot of credit because they were very respectful.
Yeah, it clearly wasn't a speech off the cuff. I mean, it was well prepared, and
he was ready for it. He wanted to fight. He was ready.
Yeah. Exactly. He knew. I mean, he had the police presence. He kind of, knew what was gonna, what we were gonna do. So, he wanted to respond, and he came out swinging, basically. He seemed like he cared.
I have to tell you, after seeing this, I don't know how any Arab can support him. I don't know how especially any Palestinian can support him. There are some Palestinians who are making money from the village, and I have to wonder, really, is the money worth that type of xenophobic disrespect? And I know there is an election coming up next spring, a year from now, in Orland Park. And I guess the Arab community, and I believe they're very concerned. They want to replace him. He has to run for re-election. He said, by the way, that he supports term limits. He's on his second term. He said people should only serve 2 terms. but the term limits aren't enforceable. So he's going to violate his own, demand that we have term limits, and
I think
he's
he
going to
wants that to
run.
start after he leaves office.
Yeah, of course. That's what they all do. They never want anything to apply to themselves. They want them to
Right.
apply to themselves. So what do you think is going to happen now? I mean, what is the community just going to walk away and just say, "Oh, this
Well,
guy's nuts," or what's the community going to do?
the
What do you
community
think?
is actually mobilizing and organizing like never before at this point. There is a group that's been formed to try and ensure that everyone's voices are now heard.
Right.
There's town halls that are planned for the community so that we can get better organized. Register a lot more people to vote. That's one of the things we need to do because as as well as I, if you don't vote, you don't have a voice. So that's what we're trying to do and get the community mobilized into becoming a voting bloc in this
Right. Yeah, I think Yusuf Ziger is a smart person. I know his family, his grandfather, his father, his grandfather, all of them. I've known him for years, going back to the 70s. I'm hoping the community focuses in a smart, political, strategic way, not in an emotional way. I know there's some that are all very emotional, but I think that hopefully they're going to do the right thing, back a slate to change this government, to elect a new government that respects us. They don't have to support a ceasefire. We can have a respectful discussion. I support a ceasefire. They could have negotiated and said, well, let's make sure there's a provision that says the release of all the hostages like they did in Chicago.
Sure. Exactly.
They came up with a balanced resolution that still got criticized, by the way, because Israel doesn't want any of these resolutions passed, but that's besides the point. So there was a way to do it, and he's not capable of doing things in a respectful way. So hopefully the community will help elect a new leader who is capable of being respectful.
Yeah, I mean that's all we want is inclusion. We're born here, we raise our families here. We pay our taxes, and we want a better life for our families, just like anyone else. So yeah, we want inclusion, and I think he's kind of awaken us now at this point. So hopefully, we'll, like I says, we'll get the community mobilized and respond, respond accordingly.
All right, my guest with me, and I so appreciate you taking the time, Shad Mohammed. He was at the meeting this past Monday where this issue came up and where the mayor just totally disrespected Arabs and Muslims. And it was almost Islamophobic when you say, because, I'm Christian Arab and they still look at me and say I'm Muslim. So they just hate us regardless of what we are. They just want to put a label on us, Arab and Muslim, and they don't care. So, but Shad, I want to thank you because you are the face and the voice of a very reasoned community. And that's what I saw at the meeting. And I think that's the challenge he has. It makes him look worse than he is, and he's already very bad. So Shad, listen, thank you for joining us. Okay.
Thanks, Ray. Appreciate it. Thanks for the invite, and stay
safe. And make sure to share this on Facebook with everybody after we're done. It's on Facebook. I'm Ray Hanania, everybody. This is WNZK AM 690. It's February 9th on Friday. We're going to take another break. When we come back, we'll shift gears and talk about the desperate president trying to get his Arab and Muslim vote back, which I don't think is going to happen. Thanks, Shad. You have a great week.
Thanks.
All right.
You too.
And everybody, we will talk to you in a little bit. You guys have a great minute and relax. We're going to take a quick break and we'll be right back right after these messages.
With more than 30,000 successful in vitro fertilizations, IVF Michigan is now ranked as one of America's best fertility clinics according to Newsweek magazine. IVF Michigan fertility centers are the recognized leaders in high-quality fertility care. With locations in Bloomfield Hills and 9 other cities in Michigan and Ohio, IVF has experts in all aspects of the field. A founding member, American board-certified Dr. Nicholas Shama, is one of the leading reproductive endocrinologists in Michigan and Ohio. He has performed over 20,000 successful IVF cases, and it's helped thousands of couples fulfill their dreams of parenthood. When it's time to get personalized care from Dr. Nicholas Shama at one of America's best fertility clinics, call IVF Michigan Fertility Centers in Michigan and Ohio toll-free at 855-952-9600. 855-952-9600. Life for Relief and Development has now been rated as one of the best charities for humanitarian aid. Life's humanitarian projects span the globe, and Life is celebrating its 30th anniversary of providing essential life-saving aid to people and communities in 36 countries, regardless of race, color, religion, or cultural background. Where there is life, there is hope. And when disaster occurs here or around the world, including being one of the first responders to the Turkey-Syria earthquake crisis, Life for Relief and Development rushes in to provide food, medical aid, and shelter to those in need. We are looking to help the earthquake victims, and we take 0% overhead on emergency donations. So please help improve these efforts. Learn more about our involvement to help the helpless and bring hope where it's needed most. And make your tax-deductible donation to Life for Relief and Development now at lifeusa.org or call 248-424-7493. That's 248-424-7493.
When you're looking for the best in optical care, Dr. Imad Nakash is your doctor to see. With years of experience and thousands of successful procedures performed, you can trust your eyes to Dr. Imad Nakash. See Dr. Imad Nakash and his professional staff for your eye care needs. There's 2 locations to serve you. In Hazel Park, call 248-336-3937. 248-336-3937. In Rochester Hills, call 248-299-3937. That's 248-299-3937.
And welcome back to Radio Bellady. I'm Ray Hanania here at WNZK AM 690 Radio. It is Friday, February 9th, and we just finished talking about the xenophobic, racist, extremist mayor in Orland Park, Keith Pekau, who instead of talking to the taxpayers of his community, he berated them, he attacked them, he said, go to another country. You know, that's the kind of leadership that it's not leadership, it's not public service. That's the kind of destructive politics that hurts this country. He's a terrible person. I'm going to shift gears. We got a great guest here, but before I do that, I just want to shout out to Mohammed Fahim. He is a radio host at WCPT in Chicago, watching our show. He hosts the Lightning Strike radio show. I was just on it Sunday morning. If you go to my website at hanania.com, you'll of course see my columns, but in the notes section, you'll find a link to that interview that I did with Mohammed Fahim. Great guy, very smart. We are growing in the media. WNZK is run by Layla El Husseini in Detroit, Michigan. Been here for more than, 12 years. And it gives us a platform to express ourselves because there are people that don't want us to talk. So I want to welcome my next guest, longtime friend, Imad Hamad. He is the executive director of the American Human Rights Council in Michigan. Imad, thank you for coming on board and joining us on the radio this morning.
Good morning, Ray, to you and to your listeners. It's always a pleasure being with you, my man.
Yeah, it's been a long time. I wish we had 10 radio shows where we could talk. You know, these are discussions that we should be having every day, but we only have this window in the morning thanks to Layla and all that she does and all the supporters and advertisers who keep that radio show on the air. Imad, of course, I was looking at the numbers, and I've covered politics a long time, and the first thing you look at is how big did a president win by, and how many electoral delegates did he win in a state? When you look at Joe Biden's win 3.5 years ago, he won 6 or 7 states by very close numbers. Michigan was one. I think it was 130,000 votes out of millions that were cast. And Michigan has a huge Arab and Muslim population. And they're upset with him. And there's this abandoned Biden campaign. And if they lose Michigan, that's 16 electoral votes that he would lose. All he has to do is lose 32, and he will not be president again. And Michigan is the cornerstone to that abandoned Biden campaign. All they have to do is prevent him from winning 3 of the 7 states where Arab Americans and Muslims have big votes, to keep him from returning to office. He finally sees that. He's reaching out to the Arabs and Muslims in Michigan. What's the response been so far to his outreach?
Well, first, we take it as a basic effort from the Biden campaign to pursue persistent efforts to engage and reach out to all minorities and the swing states in particular. And the Arab and Muslim American community is in the heart of this process. So this is something basic, which we have no problem with. The issue here is that the community, the vast majority of the community, said no to Biden again, no to re-electing President Biden again. And they made it loud and clear. And the administration, as well as the Biden campaign, been trying so desperately to get Arab Americans, Muslim Americans to meet. And so far, all of these invitations were declined. They were not successful, even when the president himself was in Michigan. Unfortunately, yesterday, it struck an exception. There are many leaders who it chose to re-engage, it chose to accommodate.
Those are people that want to take advantage of things for their own selfish benefit. That happens every place.
Yes,
a lot. It's a shame that they did that because it undermines the Arab and Muslim community, doesn't it?
True. It's very true. Look at these leaders who crossed the protesters' line and with no concern, with no worries, they just passed and went into the meeting and came back. Now, we don't question the intentions per se. I think we question their wisdom. I think they were misguided, mistaken indeed. I think in a way or another, regardless what it is, they cut off the community position. But believe me, even if they meet, they met yesterday, even if they meet today, even if they meet every day, that's not going to change anything in the book. Right. I think the community made its position loud and clear. The people decided, people already voting. So it's too late in the game. And what's ironic here is when you hear many of the participants in these meetings, they all agreed that it was no substance, no value. All said one key word, that the White House representatives or the Biden campaign representatives, they express sympathy, but they never express any commitment,
right?
Any action. And I don't think that we in this position for months later of ongoing Israeli genocide against occupied Palestinians in the Gaza and the West Bank, that the words of sympathy are enough. We don't need the word of sympathy. We are not in the business of begging for sympathy. We're calling for what is just. We're calling what is human, and it's only human for all of us and the United States of America to do what is right, to be on the right side of history, not on the wrong side that they consciously chose and continue to do so.
And just to clear again, and this is sad that we have to keep doing this because the other side doesn't care. But our side, the Arabs and Muslims, we have to constantly point out that we don't support the killing of the Israelis on October 7th. We don't support that. 1,200 Israelis, many civilians, many soldiers in civilian uniform and in uniform were killed. We don't support that. And that makes it stronger for us to say, wait a minute, the Israelis have killed over 30,000 Palestinians in Gaza since that day. 30,000 compared to 1,200. And the reaction to the 1,200 from Biden and Anthony Blinken was outrage and strong. But the reaction to the massacre of 30,000, that's the biggest massacre I've ever heard of in history in such a short period of time. Their reaction is, well, we want to get them humanitarian aid. We've urged the Israelis to be more careful. We're the ones funding them. We've just passed another bill, $17.6 billion That's over $30 billion that we've given Israel, plus arms and weapons and bombs, phosphorus bombs that burn people to death. There's just no empathy from Biden, but I really think it's Anthony Blinken. Blinken is biased. I think if Biden fired Blinken, I might support Biden. He'd have to fire Anthony Blinken and get a new Secretary of State. I don't think that'll happen, though. Biden isn't in charge, is he? He's not running the administration.
I question that. I agree with you that I'm not sure about his capability, about his ability. I wish him well health-wise. I think if you follow up on the latest reports and you see many interviews where, you really wonder.
Yeah.
But indeed, I think your prior guests, they were talking about respect. That's the bottom line to it. We're talking about a human rights, human value, human lives. I agree with you that the value of the human life is not determined by its race, faith, or national origin. Human life is a human life. It's precious to all. However, even if I want to submit to the so-called self-defense or reaction to the October 7 Hamas attack, this went too far by all means. So we're talking about 4 months, and as we speak, people are getting bombarded, people are getting killed. Israel did not spare anything to use, weaponized everything in the world to kill infants before elderly. So, and that's why, the whole world is on one side, and the U.S., unfortunately, is on the other side. That's why we don't see this as an Israeli war against Palestinians. It's more of an American war, direct American.
Yes.
We never witnessed something like that. And I wonder when the president or his administration may wake up and smell the coffee. We come to deep fry the increase of anti-American sentiment, and we wonder why. And we come to say, why the rest of the world hate us, or why the rest of the world have an issue with them. It's clear, it's obvious. It's not magic. It's not something that they don't know about. So yes, I tell you that the community is very much determined and no recourse, no redemption for the Biden administration, regardless what they do at this time, that they will win or gain the Arab American vote. And I think the community is very united, solid about that. And I think these distractions of side meetings here and there, they're not going to go too far. Even those who participated in these meetings, they came out, not being surprised, but they knew the outcome. They knew it in advance. And that's why we were critical. And we urged everyone to respect the people's wishes, to respect the community's position, and simply not to meet. Now, I myself may not have a problem with elected officials who happen to be Arab American, Muslim Americans, or whatever in different capacities, to meet with the Biden administration or to meet with the Biden campaign. That's their role. That's expected from them. At the end of the day, they're going to echo their constituents' feeling, positions, etc., etc. The issue we have here is not with the elected officials. The issue here is with the community leaders and those who put themselves in a position to lead or represent the community, even as self-appointed leaders here.
Yeah, and what's bad about what Biden and Blinken are doing is it creates an atmosphere of hate in America.
Sure.
There was an editorial in the Chicago Tribune attacking the Chicago City Council for passing, and vehemently and viciously attacking the Chicago City Council for passing a ceasefire resolution that included the provision and the unconditional and immediate release of all of the Israeli hostages. It was a balanced resolution. But Netanyahu, who in my opinion is a terrorist too, didn't want that. He doesn't want that. So they then attacked those people in an editorial in the Chicago Tribune. It's one of the most racist things I've ever seen the Tribune do. And then the following week, the Wall Street Journal publishes an op-ed, showcases an op-ed that says that Dearborn is the jihadi capital of the world. of America. What is the reaction to that? Because that was a direct racist assault against all the people in Michigan.
Well, it's simple. Besides it's being racist, besides it's incite hate, invite violence, it's not accepted under any circumstances. But it's consistent with the norm nowadays. Unfortunately, that's the norm. You cited the example in Chicago, the Wall Street Journal in Dearborn, the stabbing in Texas. We go back to the murdering of the 6-year-old Palestinian guy in Chicago. So it continues. I think the simple answer is if Dearborn, let's say, the jihadi city in America, then I think the Biden administration and the Biden campaign are part of it. Because look, for the past 4 months, they've been coming here like more than going to any other city in the world.
Can you imagine?
Just to meet, quote unquote, with the jihadis in Dearborn. So it's very ironic. It's very resentful, but it's part of our challenge as a community at large.
Can you imagine the Wall Street Journal running a column that accused Jews of being, anti-American, racist, whatever, saying horrible things about the Jewish community or any community the way they did about Arabs, and they're allowing this guy, Zelensky, to spew this venom, on the pages of the Wall Street Journal? To me, that is, the door has been opened by Biden's failed leadership. I think the problem with Biden is he has been a weak leader, not just because of age, but he's a weak leader. And he allowed, the Russians saw that, they invaded Ukraine. The world is seeing that we're weak. Israel saw we're weak. They are going nuts to kill people in Gaza because they know the U.S. won't stop them. Imad, we're going to take a quick break and then we'll continue the discussion. I also want to talk about the American Human Rights Council's events that are coming up, but we're going to continue this discussion on the abandoned Biden movement, which is really spread across the country. I voted for Biden this last time. I'm not voting for him again. I don't care who takes his place. I can deal with 4 years of suffering, because 4 years of suffering still doesn't come to 1 day of suffering in Gaza. Those 4 years that I'm going to anticipate, whoever's the president, whether it's Trump or Robert F. Kennedy or whoever. So we're going to take a break. I'm Ray Hanania. This is WNZK AM 690 Radio. We're going to be right back right after these messages.
As the weather gets colder, it's a good idea to layer up with scarves, hats, and mittens. Another layer of protection this season is to get your flu and COVID-19 vaccines. You can get both vaccines at the same time. Talk to your healthcare provider or learn more at michigan.gov/COVID-flu-RSV and layer up for some added peace of mind. A message from the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services.
Are you going to start a restaurant or grocery store soon? Do you need floor plans and designs? Call Najee Abood at 734-744-9796. Do you want to buy kitchen and restaurant equipment at discount prices? Call Najee Abood now, 734-744-9796. New Concept Products and Design, the trademark of kitchen equipment. 5% discount on all purchases of $75,000 or more. New Concept Products and Design, new location, 31185 Schoolcraft in Livonia. Learn more at www.newconceptproducts.com. Call Najee Abood, 734-744-9796.
Get ready for an amazing experience at Ishtar Restaurant on 15 Mile Road in Sterling Heights. Enjoy excellent hospitality from owners Ali Al-Baghdadi and Fatty Bottom, serving the best in Mediterranean food. Try Chef Ali Al-Baghdadi's famous shawarma, the best Iraqi grills and food, and the best Arabic and international dishes. Dine in our authentic atmosphere or take out. Call 586-698-2585 or check us out on Facebook. Ishtar Restaurant practices all CDC guidelines and is open every day, 11 a.m. to 10 p.m. Have an amazing experience today at Ishtar Restaurant, 3625 15 Mile Road, Sterling Heights.
And welcome back to Radio Bellady. It's Ray Hanania here. We're talking with Imad Hamad. He's the executive director of the American Human Rights Council, and we were talking about the abandoned Biden campaign and the recent effort yesterday by Biden's representatives and Democrats to try and persuade the Arab and Muslim community to ease their opposition and understand Biden. And I know that a bunch of people like State Rep Abraham Ayash, who is the second ranking Democrat in the Michigan House, met with Biden officials on Thursday afternoon. And I think you make a good point, Imad. We're not upset with Ayash meeting because he's an elected Democrat. I'm hoping that in that meeting he told Biden that you're in trouble and you need to change your policies. But the community activists should not meet with any of the Biden people. The party people should meet with him and say, listen, change your policies. And I would say fire Blinken as an example of doing something for us. Because if he did that, would you take that as a sign that he's changing, that maybe it'd be worth looking at?
Well, first, I don't see hope. I don't see really any.
It's not going to happen, right?
You know, this is like Mission Impossible. I think
Yes.
the current administration is really stuck in this, and even if they were to look for a safe face, I don't think it's available. It's too late in the game, in my opinion. You know, talking about Secretary Blinken, he made history. He was the only Secretary of State that visited Israel and claimed himself to be a Jew before anything else. And that's his statement. That speaks for itself.
Before he even said he was American.
Yeah, he didn't say as an American. He put himself as the Secretary of State for the United States second, if not third, versus his identification. At any rate, I really commend all the local elected officials here in Michigan. Ayash, Farhat, Mayor Hamoud, Asad Turfi, the Deputy Wayne County Executive. I think all of these elected officials, they made their position loud and clear, even before these meetings. Even there were prior occasions where they put down meetings. They always insisted that they want to meet with policymakers. And that's why the recent delegation of the White House had policymakers, not like before, had only campaign people. And I think every one of those elected officials, even those community leaders who attended, I don't know what they have to say, but the obvious. I think they have nothing to say but the obvious. However, we should differentiate between the elected officials and their role. Actually, there are over 30 to 40 elected officials signed a petition abandoning Biden, and they made it loud and clear, even in the meeting, that they are not committed to vote for Biden. So their position is clear. However, my issue and the vast of the majority issue is with community activist leaders who, who never gave the real value of why you want to grant them a meeting, why you want to grant them this opportunity, why you want to allow them to fragment the community, to create confusion, to make it look like that the community is divided just for some words of sympathy and nothing beyond that.
So just because there was a meeting, you're saying, doesn't mean that things have changed.
No,
meeting with elected Arab and Muslim elected officials, met with him, doesn't mean anything has changed. Biden's people were told, you got to change something. He hasn't changed. He has said some things that I think are gratuitous and pandering, that I consider breadcrumbs, not bread. They're throwing breadcrumbs at us, saying, oh, you're like the pigeons. Here, eat some breadcrumbs. But they don't want to give us the loaf of bread, which is respect.
You know, all the participants, elected officials or none, they said that we heard words of sympathy, but we never heard any commitment regarding any action.
There you go.
Even some said it to the media. Yeah. They said, we asked them, would you tell President Biden exactly what we're saying? None of the delegate members gave a direct commitment to that. So it's clear. They wanted a meeting. They've been desperate for a meeting. Unfortunately, those misguided leaders, for different reasons, who granted that opportunity, passed that to them. All what they wanted is to say that we met with Arab and Muslim American leaders in
Right. They want to
Dearborn.
make it sound like everything's okay. They're
Yes,
talking
yes,
with
they
us.
want to
We're
make
good.
it sound like
No.
everything is solved, everything
And
is
it's
nice
not okay.
and dandy, etc. That's not the case. That's
It's
a
not
fool.
okay.
They're fooling themselves. They're not fooling the community at large. And I know that Michigan is going to be maybe one of the most important states among all the swing states.
16
And that's why
electoral
they are
votes.
desperate. That's why they are desperate to just keep coming here. They made me feel like in my entire history of being an activist within the community, I never seen a campaign or an administration that is so desperate just to come and connect, even if they don't have anything to offer.
All they got to do is take 37 electoral votes, I think, away from Biden, and he will not be president. That's 16 votes in Michigan and electoral votes in 2 other states. There's 7 swing states where they have big Arab and Muslim populations, and Michigan has the biggest division, plurality, 130. He won by 130,000 votes, I think, Michigan, but your population is 10 times larger than a lot of these other states where Biden only won by 10 or 20,000 votes. He's going to lose, in my opinion. Listen, we only have a few minutes left. Ahmad, tell us a little bit about the American Human Rights Council, some of the events coming up. You guys do such a great job there, and I know that I get so busy sometimes. It's so hard for me to kind of follow and help, but take a moment to tell us about all the things that are coming up.
Well, first, I have to thank you. Ray, you're a great journalist, very balanced. You always give the opportunity for all of you to be expressed freely, and I appreciate you publishing many of our updates, many of our releases. So I have to, to say thank you loud and clear.
Thank you.
I think the upcoming event that we have is we have a series that called Meet, Greet, and Open Conversation. It's on a monthly basis where we invite key community leaders, a very diverse makeup of the group, not limited to Arab and Muslim Americans. It's open by invitation forum. And every time we host an agency, a guest, etc., an entity, government or none, for that conversation. So the upcoming one is on February 21. It's about hate, acts of hate, and hate crimes. And the guest agencies to speak and to engage with is the U.S. Attorney here in the Eastern District of Michigan and the FBI field office. So we have this open engagement, constructive engagement, and people have the opportunity to exchange news and views about this cause. The other one is on February 28th, and it's going to be in the spirit of the African or the Black American History Month, which we feel that the American Black struggle or African American struggle is with the Palestinian struggle. It's a humanity struggle. So we see them as one, we see them as interacted, and this is going to be an annual gathering, actually, celebrating the Black History Month and showcase that we are one within the notion of a humanity together.
And you understand the power of the media, because I remember when you first came to America, you were being held by the, I think it was immigration, and you saw that there was a Palestinian journalist at the Chicago Sun-Times at the time, me. And when you told me your story and I called them up, I scared the bejesus out of them. They did not want me to write a story about what they were doing to you, discriminating against you, harassing you, not allowing you to come in. And I felt that that was a good example of how the media can be so important. Imad, listen, I got to thank you. We're out of time, but just any quick final words at all?
No, I just thank you. I want to urge people through you and Michigan and every state to actively participate in the primary election. The primary election is important.
Okay.
The bottom line, don't vote for Biden.
When's Michigan's election?
February 27. February 27. So it's toward the end of this month. So I urge everyone to vote. Active participation is our statement. Don't vote for Biden. Vote your choice, but not for Biden. But the bottom line, go out to vote, get out to vote, get others to vote.
Okay, March 19th is the primary.
February 27.
No, yeah, February 27th in Michigan, March 19th in Illinois. I'm Ray Hanania. I want to thank everybody for joining us. We will see you again. Take it easy, everybody. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Ray.
WNZK has available a few good hours of airtime.